We live as if time is endless, as if our struggles are permanent, as if today's fear will follow us forever. But step back, widen your view. In 100 years, none of this will matter. The opinions, the mistakes, the embarrassment, the hesitation that keeps you small. The clock does not slow down for doubt, and life does not wait for permission. This is not a message of despair. This is a message of freedom. When you understand how temporary everything is, you stop wasting energy on what does not serve you. You stop living for approval. You stop carrying the weight of unnecessary fear. You begin to act with clarity. Most people suffer not because life is hard, but because their mind is undisciplined. They replay the past. They imagine a future that does not exist. They exhaust themselves fighting battles that are already over or may never come. Meanwhile, life passes quietly by. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is devotion to what matters. Your pain will fade, your failures will fade, even your successes will fade. So what remains? Your character, your actions, the way you show up when no one is watching, the way you train your body, your mind, your spirit daily, patiently, without excuses. Ask yourself, if none of this will matter in 100 years, why are you afraid to begin? Why are you afraid to speak your truth? Why are you afraid to leave what is draining you? Why are you afraid to become who you know you must be? Fear survives only when you give it time and attention. Starve it. Replace it with practice. Replace it with effort. Replace it with movement. Progress is not loud. Transformation is not dramatic. It is quiet, repetitive, and often uncomfortable. The strongest people are not those who dominate others, but those who master themselves. They wake up when it is hard. They train when motivation is gone. They choose discipline over comfort. Again and again and again. Life will test you. It will humble you. It will strip away illusions. This is not cruelty. It is refinement. Steel is forged under pressure. A calm mind is built through chaos. A meaningful life is shaped through responsibility. Do not wait for perfect conditions. They will never come. Do not wait to feel ready. Readiness is built through action. Every day you delay, you train yourself to hesitate. Every day you act, you train yourself to lead. One day your name will be spoken for the last time. Let that truth sharpen you, not weaken you. Let it push you to live with intensity, integrity, and purpose. Let it remind you to invest your energy wisely into growth, into service, into becoming useful to the world. When you are old, you will not regret the effort. You will regret the chances you didn't take, the discipline you avoided, the potential you left untouched. So stand up straight, breathe deeply, set your mind, choose one difficult thing today and do it fully. Train your body, train your focus, train your focus, train your focus, train your will. Not for praise, not for recognition, but because this moment demands your best. In 100 years none of this will matter, so make it matter now. Move, decide, act. The time is not coming, the time is now. Impermanence is not meant to frighten you, it is meant to wake you up. When you truly understand that everything you cling to will disappear, the grip of fear begins to loosen. The mistakes you replay at night, the words you wish you had said differently, the moments you believe defined you forever, all of them are temporary. Time erases titles, reputations, victories, and failures without discrimination. The mind, however, resists this truth. It convinces you that today's embarrassment is permanent, that one wrong move has ruined everything, that you are being judged more harshly than you are. This illusion becomes a prison. Impermanence is the key that unlocks the door. Most anxiety comes from assigning too much meaning to things that are passing. You fear judgment because you believe it will last. You fear failure because you believe it will follow you forever. But look closely, every moment replaces the one before it. Nothing stays long enough to justify paralysis. When you internalize this, you stop living defensively. You stop trying to protect an image that will dissolve anyway. You start acting with intention instead of hesitation. Understanding impermanence does not mean becoming careless or detached from effort. It means choosing where to place your energy. If everything fades, then what deserves your attention is not approval but growth, not comfort but capability, not distraction but discipline. You begin to ask better questions. Is this worth my time? Is this making me stronger, calmer, more aware? Or am I feeding something that will not matter tomorrow? The mind loves to dramatize the present moment. It turns small problems into permanent identities. One failure becomes I am a failure. One rejection becomes I am not enough. Impermanence cuts through this distortion. It reminds you that events are temporary, but habits are not. Emotions pass, but the way you train your response determines who you become. When you stop identifying with every thought and feeling, you regain control. You observe instead of react. You respond instead of panic. This awareness creates courage. When you know that pain is temporary, you can endure it. When you know that discomfort will pass, you stop running from it. Growth always demands a price, and that price is often emotional resistance. Impermanence teaches you that resistance lasts longer than the pain itself. The effort ends, the lesson remains, the body adapts, the mind sharpens. Many people wait for certainty before acting, but certainty does not exist in a world that is constantly changing. Impermanence teaches you to move without guarantees, to take responsibility without knowing the outcome, to step forward even when the ground feels unstable. This is not recklessness, this is maturity. It is the understanding that waiting for perfect clarity is another form of avoidance. When you stop pretending that anything is permanent, you stop wasting time, you become precise with your actions. You speak more honestly, you train more seriously, you let go faster, you forgive more easily. You no longer need to win every argument or prove every point, because none of it is worth carrying. What matters is who you are becoming through each passing moment, how you are shaping your character while everything else fades, how you use the limited time you have to build something solid within yourself while the external world continues to change without asking for your permission. Discipline is often misunderstood as restriction, but in truth it is structure that creates freedom. Without discipline, the mind becomes chaotic, pulled in every direction by impulse, emotion, and distraction. You wake up reacting instead of deciding. You move according to mood instead of purpose. Over time, this weakens trust in yourself. When you cannot rely on your own word, confidence erodes quietly. Discipline restores that trust. Every small promise you keep to yourself rebuilds inner stability. The mind does not need motivation, it needs direction. Motivation is unstable. It rises and falls with energy, emotion, and circumstance. Discipline remains when motivation disappears. It is the decision to act even when resistance is strong, even when the body is tired, even when no one is watching. This is where transformation happens, not in intensity, but in consistency, not in dramatic effort, but in daily commitment. An undisciplined mind seeks comfort and avoids sharing your discomfort. Yet growth lives on the other side of discomfort. Every time you avoid what is difficult, you strengthen avoidance. Every time you face what is difficult, you strengthen resolve. Discipline is not about forcing yourself endlessly. It is about training yourself gradually. You start small, you repeat, you refine. Over time, what was once hard becomes normal. This is how resilience is built. Discipline also brings clarity. When your routines are stable, your mind becomes quieter. Spend less energy negotiating with yourself. You remove unnecessary choices and reduce internal conflict. This allows focus to sharpen. A focused mind sees reality more clearly. It responds instead of reacts. It does not waste strength on imagined problems. It deals with what is in front of it. Many people believe discipline limits freedom, but the opposite is true. Without discipline, you are controlled by appetite, fear, and distraction. With discipline, you choose your actions. You decide when to rest and when to push. You decide what deserves attention and what does not. This is real autonomy. This is inner authority. Discipline also teaches humility. Progress is slow. Results are delayed. You learn patience by showing up without immediate reward. You learn respect for the process. This removes entitlement and replaces it with effort. You stop demanding outcomes and start earning them. This mindset is rare, and that is why it is powerful. The body and mind are connected. When you train the body with consistency, the mind follows. Physical effort teaches mental endurance. Breath under pressure teaches calm under stress. Posture teaches presence. Fatigue teaches honesty. Through disciplined practice, you become familiar with discomfort, and familiarity removes fear. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about returning to the path quickly after you fall off. Everyone slips. Everyone fails. The disciplined person does not collapse into guilt or excuse. They adjust and continue. This ability to reset without drama is strength. It keeps momentum alive. Over time, discipline reshapes identity. You no longer ask if you should act. You act because it is who you are. Effort becomes natural. Resistance loses its voice. The mind stops arguing and starts cooperating. In this state, progress is no longer forced, it is sustained, and your actions begin to align with your values through repetition rather than emotion. Action is the bridge between intention and reality. Without it, thought remains fantasy and potential stays dormant. Many people live trapped in planning, analyzing, and waiting, convincing themselves they are preparing when in truth they are avoiding the risk of movement. The mind prefers safety, and hesitation feels safe because nothing is lost immediately. Yet every moment of inaction quietly drains confidence. The longer you delay, the heavier the first step becomes. Fear is not eliminated by thinking, it is dissolved through exposure. When you act, even imperfectly, you confront the very thing the mind tries to protect you from. This confrontation shrinks fear to its true size. Most fears are exaggerated projections built from imagination rather than experience. Action replaces imagination with information. It shows you what is real and what was never a threat to begin with. Clarity does not come before action, it comes from action. People often wait until they feel ready, confident, or certain, but readiness is a byproduct of movement. The first step is always uncomfortable because it breaks inertia. Once movement begins, momentum carries you forward. The body adapts, the mind adjusts. What once felt impossible becomes familiar. Action also creates accountability. When you move, you place yourself in reality, where results respond to effort. Excuses lose power because feedback becomes immediate. You learn what works and what does not. This feedback is essential. Without it, growth remains theoretical. With it, progress becomes measurable. Small actions matter more than dramatic ones. Consistent effort compounds quietly. One disciplined step taken daily builds strength, skill, and trust over time. Large bursts of effort followed by long pauses create instability. The mind thrives on rhythm. Action taken regularly becomes identity. You no longer debate whether to act. Action becomes the default. Procrastination is not laziness, it is fear disguised as comfort. The mind delays to avoid discomfort, judgment, or failure. But avoidance trains weakness. Each time you postpone, you reinforce the habit of retreat. Each time you act despite resistance, you strengthen courage. Courage is not an emotion, it is a practiced response. Action also grounds you in the present moment. Thinking pulls you into the past or future. Action anchors you in now. When you move with intention, the mind becomes quieter. Worry dissolves into focus. Energy flows where effectiveness lives. You do not need confidence to act. Confidence is the result of repeated action. Waiting for confidence creates a loop that never ends. Action breaks the cycle. Even failure becomes useful when you act because it teaches. Stagnation teaches nothing. Action demands responsibility. When you move forward, you accept the outcome, whatever it may be. This acceptance builds maturity. You stop blaming circumstances and start adjusting strategy. You become adaptable rather than fragile. Momentum is powerful. The hardest part is beginning. Once you start, resistance weakens. The mind stops protesting and starts supporting. Action shifts identity from someone who dreams to someone who does. Through movement, potential transforms into reality, and the distance between who you are and who you could become begins to close with each deliberate step forward. Responsibility is the foundation of strength. The moment you accept full responsibility for your life, excuses lose the calm recognition that regardless of the past, the next action is yours to choose. Guilt keeps you stuck in what cannot be changed. Responsibility anchors you in what can be shaped. It does not deny difficulty. It removes helplessness. When you take responsibility, you stop waiting for rescue. You stop hoping someone else will fix what you avoid. This shift is uncomfortable at first because it removes comforting illusions. There is no one left to blame, no story to hide behind. But in that commodity in their power, blame becomes irrelevant, complaining becomes unnecessary. This is not because life suddenly becomes fair, but because your focus shifts from what happened to what must be done. Responsibility returns your power. As long as you believe your circumstances control you, you remain trapped. When you accept that your response is your responsibility, freedom begins. Many people confuse responsibility with guilt or self-punishment. They are not the same. Responsibility is clarity. It is discomfort. Strength grows. You realize that you are more capable than you believed. Responsibility sharpens discipline. When you know the outcome depends on you, effort becomes non-negotiable. You no longer rely on motivation or mood. You act because you understand the cost of inaction. This creates reliability. Others begin to trust you, but more importantly, you begin to trust yourself. Accepting responsibility also builds resilience. When setbacks occur, you do not collapse into victimhood. You analyze, you adapt, you continue. Failure becomes feedback instead of identity. This mindset allows growth to continue even under pressure. Life will test you repeatedly. Responsibility keeps you standing. There is dignity in ownership. When you take responsibility for your words, your actions, your habits, you stand upright in the world. You are no longer dragged by circumstances. You move with intention. This dignity is quiet, but it is felt. It creates presence. Responsibility also
demands honesty.
You must see yourself clearly without distortion. You acknowledge weaknesses without self-hate. You recognize strengths without arrogance. This balance allows improvement. Denial blocks growth. Honesty opens the path forward. When responsibility becomes a habit, you stop wasting energy on resentment. Resentment drains focus and clouds judgment. Responsibility redirects that energy into action. You no longer ask why this happened to you. You ask what you will do next. This question changes everything. Taking responsibility does not mean carrying the weight of the world. It means carrying your share. It means doing what is within your control fully and letting go of what is not. This distinction creates calm. You act where you can act. You release what you cannot change. Over time, responsibility becomes identity. You become someone who acts rather than reacts, who addresses problems rather than avoids them, who moves forward without needing permission. In this state, challenges no longer feel like threats. They become tasks. Obstacles become training. Life stops happening to you and starts responding to you through the choices you make each day. Time is the only currency that never returns. You can recover money, rebuild status, regain strength, but a wasted moment is gone permanently. Most people live as if time is unlimited, spending it casually on distraction, avoidance, and meaningless conflict. Days blur together because nothing deliberate anchors them. When you truly understand the finiteness of time, urgency appears, not panic but precision. You become selective. You stop tolerating what drains you. You stop postponing what matters. Awareness of limited time sharpens priorities. Trivial problems lose importance. Ego-driven battles no longer deserve your energy. You begin to see how much effort is wasted trying to impress people who will forget you, arguing about things that will not matter, or holding on to resentment that only poisons the present. This awareness is not cold. It is clarifying. It strips life down to essentials. Mortality is often avoided because it makes people uncomfortable, but discomfort carries truth. One day your body will no longer respond to command. Your voice will be silent. Your plans will end. This is not morbid, it is factual. When you accept this, you stop living on autopilot. You begin to inhabit your days instead of rushing through them unconsciously, knowing that time is limited. Forces honesty. You ask yourself whether your actions align with your values, whether your daily habits are leading somewhere meaningful or simply filling space. Time exposes inconsistency. You cannot claim importance while living carelessly. You cannot speak about purpose while avoiding effort. Time does not judge, but it reveals. This awareness also deepens presence. When moments are numbered, attention becomes sharper, conversations become more real, work becomes more focused, training becomes more intentional. You are no longer half present, split between now and elsewhere. Presence is not a technique, it is a consequence of valuing time. Limited time also demands courage. If the clock is always moving, then waiting for approval is costly. Waiting to feel ready becomes expensive. You realize that hesitation has a price, and that price is life itself. This realization does not create recklessness, it creates resolve. You act not because success is guaranteed, but because time will pass. Regardless, legacy is not built through grand gestures, it is built through consistent behavior. How you treat people, how you handle pressure, how you use ordinary days. Long after words are forgotten, patterns remain. Time records behavior more accurately than memory. What you repeatedly do becomes what you leave behind. When you respect time, discipline becomes natural. You wake up with intention, you reduce excess, you invest energy where it compounds. You no longer need constant motivation, because waste feels unacceptable. The awareness of an ending gives structure to the present. Living with this understanding does not mean rushing or obsessing, it means moving with purpose. Calm urgency, focused effort, clear direction. Each day becomes a deliberate choice rather than a default reaction. Time continues forward without pause, and your awareness of that movement changes how you stand, how you speak, how you act, how you train, how you live within the moments that remain. Character is what remains when nothing else can be taken from you. It is not what you claim to value, but what you practice when pressure is applied. Titles fade, applause disappears, possessions change hands, character stays with you in silence. It is revealed in small, unobserved moments, in choices that offer no reward, in restraint when excess is available. This is why character outlives achievement. Achievement depends on circumstance. Character depends on decision. Most people focus on outcomes because outcomes are visible. Character is invisible, so it is neglected. Yet every outcome is shaped by character. How you handle frustration determines whether you persist. How you treat others determines the quality of your relationships. How you speak to yourself determines whether you rise or retreat. These patterns accumulate quietly, shaping your life from the inside out. Character is built through consistency, not intensity. One honest action repeated daily outweighs a single heroic
moment.
Integrity practiced in private creates strength that does not crack under scrutiny. When your inner standards are clear, external chaos loses its power. You are not pulled in every direction because your values anchor you. Being useful to the world is an extension of character. A life focused only on the self becomes narrow and fragile. When difficulty comes, there is nothing to hold on to. Service widens perspective. It reminds you that your struggles are not unique, that effort has purpose beyond personal gain. Usefulness gives suffering direction. Hardship becomes training rather than punishment. Service does not require grand gestures. It begins with competence, doing your work well, showing up prepared, carrying your weight. These actions create reliability, and reliability builds trust. Trust is rare, and that is why it is powerful. People remember those who were steady when things were uncertain. Character also demands restraint. Strength is not always force. Often it's not demanded. In the end, what you give matters more than what you get. How you leave people feeling matters more than how many you surpassed. Character ensures that even as everything else fades, something solid remains within you, shaping every interaction, every effort, every moment you choose to act in alignment with who you have decided to be. Control, the ability to pause before reacting, to listen before speaking, to walk away from what poisons you, even when ego wants engagement. Restraint preserves energy. It keeps your focus clean. It prevents unnecessary damage. When you invest in character, you stop chasing validation. Approval becomes irrelevant because your standards are internal. This creates calm. You are no longer dependent on praise or crushed by criticism. You measure yourself by effort and alignment, not by noise. Character grows through difficulty. Comfort does not test values, adversity does. When things go wrong, your defaults emerge. Do you become bitter or responsible? Do you blame or adapt? These moments shape you more than success ever will. Each challenge is an invitation to refine who you are. A strong character creates quiet influence. You do not need to convince or impress. Your behavior speaks. Your presence stabilizes. Others feel it even if they cannot name it. This influence is earned,